our weekly road meeting, and we've got just a couple of items on the agenda. Daryl Kerr was supposed to be here to talk about a jake brake ordinance. Do you know exactly what that was
I
regarding?
have no idea what he was coming to talk about.
Okay,
I know that the county does not have a jake brake ordinance, so.
we'll go ahead and go through it if he comes before the end of the meeting. So we've also got did you have anything you want to discuss before we go to Mr. Mendenhall?
No, I don't.
Okay, so, Sean, my understanding is you came to get some information about
I did.
45th, so go ahead and let us know what you're needing.
Okay, so 49 South Township and Holmes Avenue. Currently Keller Engineering has done a bunch of engineering out there, and right now my property is severely affected due to the engineering work that has been done. There's a light that is supposed to be installed.
There's a signal.
What was
Traffic
that?
signal.
There's gonna be traffic signal, yes. And based on the drawing that I received from Keller Engineering, it is severely affecting my property. What I'd like to know from the county is status of when this is supposed to go, because I've been told by Keller Engineering, construction starts in 2025. And the county is going to start contacting us as homeowners later this fall. Is that still something, or what's the status?
Generally speaking, is still the status. The design is nearing final completion for the design. We have not absolutely got it 100% done, but we've got close enough that they've started staking out some of where the right of way takes are gonna be.
Yeah.
And they're going to be probably talking to people and starting right of way negotiations by midsummer.
Okay,
So who is it that will be contacting you?
Keller Associates or the right of way agent, and I'm not sure who the right of way agent may be right now. We're
Talk about my, I should probably take the video in so they can see him here.
so as homeowners, we are probably the most affected by this change. So, we are very much, we are on the southeast corner. And so basically the way the drawing is drawn, there will be no access to our home.
The access is still gonna be there. It's gonna be shifted a little bit to the east from where it is now.
It is, but it's severely affecting our property and the value of the property. I mean, it is big action. So we'll on that. I just needed to know. So midsummer is when you expect.
Expect by midsummer that we're gonna have something in place to where
Okay, we're starting
moving
to,
forward
okay,
with.
we're starting to have communication about this. Okay.
We did have the public open house.
We did,
Your
yes.
wife did come to it.
Yeah.
We did talk with her quite a bit about
Yeah,
that.
okay, yeah, she was there. I was off with something else and she was there. So, so we'll expect, and we're gonna be very active on this as homeowners. We're very affected, so we'll probably become hopefully real good friends. We'll see how it goes.
Well, unfortunately, we won't be good friends because we can't get involved in that.
Well, no, but I mean, whoever's involved, we'll be having a lot of discussions, and I'm sure they'll be fine, but, we're gonna be, yeah, it's a big deal to us, so.
Okay, well, appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Yeah, you've got good people to work with here, and Keller has always been really fair and really good for homeowners to work with, so. But yeah, I assume you will be, or whoever the Keller
Yeah,
representative is, will be your main contact that you'll work through.
And your name?
Lance Bates.
Lance Bates, okay, so we've talked on the phone, you and I, just never seen you up close, so now we're seeing each other, so that's good. Okay, perfect.
And that 529-1290 number is how you can get a hold of me.
Yeah.
Pretty much anytime.
Okay, yeah, I have called that, so, cool, thanks, Lance.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet everybody.
Before we kind of move on, yeah, Austin's got it.
This is 15th and 49th, right? Find the right spot.
No.
It's, do I need to go
Go,
You need to go,
west one,
yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
you need to go over to
right here?
Holmes. So right there on the corner, there's Sunterra. And then if you'll zoom in on that southwest corner, houses sits at a diagonal to the intersection, right there.
This one,
Yeah, that one. So,
so that's where you're at.
yeah,
Okay.
that's an old pic. There are lots of stuff to change, but yeah.
That is right on the corner, isn't
Yeah,
it?
my driveway is gone, but based on how the drawing is, I mean, all that. So,
It will be shifted as far as we can reasonably get it and still get access into your garage.
yeah, I'm still a little unclear how this is gonna work, so that's why we're gonna have some chats, conversations.
Okay,
Cool.
appreciate you coming in.
Yes, sir.
Yep, they will certainly work with you.
Okay.
So next we'll go to Mr. Kerr.
Yes, sir.
We understand you've got a question about a Jake break ordinance. You want to come on up so you're a little closer?
You bet. Where do you want me to stand?
Go ahead and have a seat right there.
You got a wide angle lens, so you gotta be able to see all of me, right?
Well, go ahead and have a seat
Okay.
and, so that the camera can pick you up and we can pick you up
All
on the
good. I hope I
recording
look good
well.
on screen.
So what, explain to
Have
us,
enough filters.
explain to us what your concern was.
I live on 49th north and 45th east. I'm almost at the intersection. We live in there's 6 houses in our subdivision. We got all this growth coming down 49th, and those guys, they know they're gonna stop. And they rattle their J brakes, starts at 5:30 in the morning. Every morning. Now I get up at 3:30.
I was gonna say, you're out of bed by then anyway.
You bet I am.
so.
I never made no money in bed. Anyway, my wife's not awake, so that's, we're just kind of tired of the Jake brake noise. We got a lot of growth there. It's not the contractor that's doing the road that's the problem. And I guess we don't have so I don't know who to talk to. Maybe I talk to you, maybe I talk to Mr. Bates, maybe I talk to Mr. Black, but we don't have the Jake brake ordinance in Bonneville County, I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct. We do not currently have a Jake break ordinance. We
Okay.
have talked about it on several different occasions.
Where,
It has never
where are
been.
the trucks going up there?
They're all leaving. They've been in every subdivision. We've dealt with it for so long since they've been building on, over on the other side of Mr. Black's neighborhood. That's all been inundated with housing and growth. The trucks that are the biggest concern right now are going straight east on 49th. And
To
they're
the
going up.
pits.
No, well, they're coming from the pits, yeah, they're coming from the pits, but they're going up to do the subdivisions and we just get tired of it.
We
So,
took care of that for you this summer, though. We shut 45th off.
yeah, I know it shut this morning. How big of a deal would it be to leave that closed? How much would that cost?
You couldn't afford it.
I know I can't. Just it's worth asking. So anyway, they come down there and they hit that, now they just start rattling their Jake brakes from the road before. And I know they're gonna stop because there's a stop sign, but quite frankly, all of us are sick of it. It's all we hear. And I know there's growth and I know we gotta do, and I know we gotta juggle, and I know we gotta, everybody get along and hold hands and sing songs and live together, but I don't know why we can't do an ordinance for Jake brakes.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Is it something you believe is necessary, Lance? I mean, not just for this situation, but if you've had other situations in the county where you feel like you wish we had something?
Sorry not to cut you off, but I am with him because at that intersection where we're at, all day long, truck traffic is up and down there all day long. And I hear the same thing.
Do you hear any cars?
I hear everything.
You
I
hear
hear bikes, cars, Jake brakes, but there's a ton of trucks that go through there because the pits are down the road from me and HK is over on York Road and Highway 91. So they come down York and they go north on Holmes.
Lance?
So we've received a few other requests in the past. And there have been a number of different times when, yes, it is an issue. When we brought that before the commissioners before, we've also said that an ordinance like that needs to be county-wide. And that's where county-wide, it kind of, well, how do we enforce that? And what's the enforcement potential for it? And that's, so having an ordinance in place is only part of the problem or the solution. The other side is the enforcement of that and making sure that it can be enforced countywide.
Have you tried contacting the companies on your own?
They
Saying,
just laugh at you because the county will not back us up. So let me tell you what I think would work. I think we need a jailbreak ordinance. The sign goes up, maybe you can agree or disagree. I'll pay you money if you disagree with me. I'll pay you cash. I think that if we put a sign up, I think you're gonna lose about 90% of the guys violating the jailbreak thing in our neighborhood. I realize the county's gotta grow and I'm all over growth in there. But, you know, we used to have a nice place. We used to have a quiet place. We realize growth's coming. So the county's gotta help us in taking care of the growth. And one of the things is that you need to have a place where the citizens can come talk. These are our concerns. I'm not the only one. I've just got the biggest mouth in the neighborhood to just say, look, we need a jailbreak sign. I don't care if I gotta buy my own sign, but I bet you lose 90% of the rattle and the noise from the jailbreak if you have a sign that says no jailbreak strictly enforced.
And I don't believe it has to be countywide. Bonneville County's big. It goes clear to the Wyoming border.
Yeah.
I don't have to have a countywide ordinance. I have to have it in areas. So you can signage these areas where you don't have to have it, where you don't have to have a countywide ordinance. I don't believe it needs to be countywide, because how are you gonna enforce it over on the way to Alpine, Wyoming? You're not gonna enforce that.
so the ordinance would probably be drafted and it's in certain areas, or I don't know if you've even thought through that, Lance, how.
If I can, Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
when this has come up before, I've talked, with commissioners in some of the surrounding counties that have already dealt with this. It seemed like an easier way to approach it. And I talked with, the Idaho Department of Transportation, because one of our areas in Bonneville County is on Highway 26 up around Palisades, where they don't do it just in the morning or in the evening, they do it all night long. And they all have basically the same idea, and that's the signage should say, no jailbreaks allowed for the next X number of miles. And so it's a limited thing from that sign. Makes the signage easier, makes the enforcement easier. And that seems to be working in the surrounding counties. That's what they've done. Rather than try and enforce an unenforceable countywide ordinance, they restricted it based on, you know, this far from the sign.
I only need
Next
about
3 miles,
1,000
next
feet.
5 miles.
I only need 1,000 feet, so.
Yeah, but you've got a couple of complications here. You've got some of those roads that are city of Idaho Falls jurisdiction that we can't put a jailbreak ordinance, so.
So Holmes Avenue is county, city, both?
The Holmes is
Yeah,
county,
Oh,
city, county,
exactly.
city, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then 49th is county in my section. The mile from Holmes to Woodruff is county.
Well, it goes back and forth too, and then it gets into the city of Amity.
Exactly.
So,
And then you've got Iona,
yeah,
you know, developing a lot of that because it's in their area of impact. So, you know, any discussion would have to be with the city of Iona too, which seems like Iona, with those, you know, like, Iona Road, or what do they call it, North Iona Road, that heads out.
That's one of the regular complaints about
Yeah.
North Road.
Oh, yeah, Iona Road, North Road, is where they get an awful lot of that. You know,
The
so
Jackson
Iona might,
Plain semis coming into the landfill,
yeah, and Iona Road,
and they laugh when you call
Yeah, because nobody will stand up.
so that's
So-
just a suggestion, we need to involve, at least city of Iona and city of Idaho Falls in those areas.
Mhm.
You know, cause if you had it for, say, the next 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet or the next mile, you'd have to have a joint, agreement in your area, like the city of
Oh,
Idaho Falls.
absolutely.
on the split jurisdictions.
Can I, put my finger on the map? The part I'm talking about is Swanville
It
County.
might shock you.
No, I know.
The part I'm talking about is Swanville County. So I just wanna put a Jake break sign right there. And I don't see a problem. I realize if they're going that way, that's a problem. I understand 55th and big thoroughfare. I know, we've been working there, so. All I wanna do is put a Jake break sign right there. We don't have a Jake break coming this way. You've got a guy over here who's now in Iona, and he's over here running these trucks out of his driveway, and we hear those all the time too. And he don't even have a commercial business, but he's running a commercial operation. You got them all over the county. All I would like to do is see the county commissioners agree to put a Jake break sign right there, and I'll bet you eliminate 90% of the Jake break noise.
On your road. On your road, on your small segment.
And then
which-
That won't fix it on mine, won't fix it on Iona
It's
North,
got to be a more universal fix.
but I think there's a
Okay.
way to write the ordinance so that it's a little.
I don't know.
simpler and easier to enforce.
This is just thinking out loud, but you could almost utilize the existing area of impact agreements and utilize those areas as the areas where the Jake break signs are posted.
That's a good.
Because you've got the radius outlined, you've got the growth areas outlined, so that's where the growth's gonna be coming in. You've already kind of targeted that.
The perimeters.
A couple of them, yes, but there's other. areas
Yeah, I
that
mean, there might be some other specific roadways we have to spell out, but I'm talking just as you take the heavy growth areas, if you took Idaho Falls, Ammon, Iona, all area of impacts within the county, you're gonna cover a majority of this inner huge urban area where it's gonna be a problem. Most of the other areas are more rural in nature anyways.
Does Iona have does Idaho Falls have or Jake break?
They do, yeah. And I think Ammon does too. So we might, I mean, that's just a thought, and like I say, we might have to pick out some other roadways that are outside those areas that still would be part of that, but I think that would cover a vast majority of the people who are in more dense developments or where development is coming that are gonna be really impacted.
So one of the last times that we had this come up was over off of, West Broadway. And, what was it? 65th West, over there off of West Broadway where that little road comes off. And that was another area. We've also had concerns on 35th West out by the river. So there's been a number of spots that we've
Well, the
received.
one on West
requests.
Broadway was when they were doing all that heavy construction out at the.
Yeah,
But that's why I say, I just think that the areas we've outlined already as area of impact could be a good starting area, and then if we need to identify additional roadways, I think we could, but.
Seems awfully complicated to have to geographically decide to do it that way seems like a really long route to making them applicable to as posted, which is the way the ordinance I looked at was written.
I just think the
Because
problem is
it
you'll
can
spend a
say-
fortune in signs if you do as posted.
Well, if the sign says no Jake breaks from, no Jake breaks from here to the city limits.
Bingham
And
County,
all the ones coming into the city, that covers, the same sign covers all of the impact area.
that's how Bingham County has theirs, they
Yeah.
have start and stop.
Well, let me
Right.
throw this out. I've give up one house and I've moved my family once in the sake of growth. Highway 26, when the state come in and forced me out. And they took my house, I had to move my family, had to move all my stuff. I moved to a quiet spot 13 years ago. I could go build on any of my farms anywhere, I could do that, but my wife wanted to live there. I don't see where a simple sign is such a big, huge deal. So if I go rent a sign and put it up there, is that okay? I can just have one made at Idaho Traffic Safety. I'll just put it down there. I don't care about, that's what you guys get paid the big bucks for. You guys get paid to solve problems. And all I want you to do is solve mine. Just turn it off. I'm sick of the Jake breaks, and I think you'll eliminate a whole bunch of them. I think that it's a real simple deal to do. And if you promise not to haul me to jail, I'll go get my own sign put there. Because I understand growth. And I understand we all gotta do. But you know what? In all the growth comes a whole bunch of tax revenue. I'm talking about one simple sign.
But he's talking about another sign. And he's talking about another sign, and that's what we have to figure out as a more universal. I appreciate, we've been friends a long time, but can't single you out. And then are you going to exempt the trucks on your construction project up there that go through? That maybe have jig brakes
I don't have any trucks go through.
on that irrigation project?
I don't have any trucks go through the
They go
rest of
someplace, they go someplace, so.
No, the cool part is I've been in construction, so I understand all about that. We don't need any trucks running a J brake up there, even my neighbors appreciate what I do because I'm courteous to my neighbors.
Do they use their jake brakes, so your truckers?
Well, I know that I don't own any trucks anymore. But I can promise you,
That was a
Roger,
trick question.
I know,
You're a contractor, so.
but I understand. Even when we did our job on 50/50 East, there was who complained about that.
Yeah.
Nobody's complained about my work, Roger. Nobody.
The only thing I'm pointing out is when we have a solution that needs to affect bigger areas, and this is a lot better idea than we had at the beginning, when you just had to do it countywide. This isolates it to where you could sign it in those areas, because you'd probably have to have 500 signs if you did it that way.
I can just about tell you right here where I would put signs in the geographical zone in right now. And that would be from pretty much York Road going into City of Idaho Falls.
And that's in the impact area.
And that's in the impact area, okay? Because that's where they start, okay? Going north and then coming from the south, you just start at about 49th North. Up there by, and just coming in, okay, that's Iona Road right there, that goes across. I mean, I can tell you, just being in the county, where I would put signs. And there's a big impact zone that would be affected through that.
That's why I like.
The thing that I don't like about just the signs though, and the reason I think you need an ordinance with a defined geographical area is because if you just go put a sign out there that says no Jake breaks from this point to here. Well, somebody goes out and tries to cite the trucker that has his Jake brake on. Well, I didn't see the sign because I didn't come in on
That
that
doesn't
roadway.
work so well on speed limits, does it?
I know,
didn't
but
see the sign.
that's what I'm saying. You have to have something backing it before you go put the signs out there so that you can
How long
actually
would
enforce
take
it.
to Put a proposed ordinance together. Working between the two of you in a map.
Maybe we could put something together in a couple of weeks and see what we could come up with.
My concern is I want the sheriff's office
Yeah.
involved in it, because you gotta include the enforcement, and if he says, no, I can't enforce something like that, I'm gonna be hesitant of putting it up. I don't wanna put a sign that doesn't have any enforcement back.
You've got a lot of signs that don't.
Well, and I agree, it'll take care of 90% of it without any enforcement, but it's the one or two calls that go to the sheriff's office and he says, we're not supporting that.
See, the problem with you buying a sign and putting it up is how do you enforce it? Because that person, even if we did it, is gonna say, oh no, I used my jake brake, but it was outside of that area, and then you gotta prove who it was and when they did it. To be able to find it.
I agree with you. When we get a sign up, if law enforcement sits there at peak time and stops a couple of folks, word will spread real fast between those truck companies that are running that route. And they'll stop. Well, that's what the guy at the Jackson Hole Trucking Company told me.
But let's get together with Sam. and
Okay.
get his input,
I think it's a good idea.
If you guys will bring us together a proposal, and then we'll have Sam involved in it.
I'll get the mayor of Iona. And I'm not gonna stop at this. I'm going to figure this out. I've been rooted out once. I don't want to be rooted out again. I wanna just have a place where we can go home and have a little bit of a life.
I'd like to hear that conversation with you and Goodward.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to do that.
No, because he's married to my cousin.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Everybody in Iowa is related.
I'd love that. So,
No, I think this silent, you know, because I'd like to see us work on getting something about the.
Yeah. I don't think too, I don't think we need to put a sign everywhere. Maybe we can, but let's start with one, maybe it's two. Two, is that the deal?
It
Two
doesn't
signs?
matter to me, it's fine, I'm the guy who looks at a more, all-inclusive solution. But I also know that there's areas, and you are correct, I've been there, and they ravel that all day.
Well, I can tell you, as soon as everybody sees a sign that you've put up, we're gonna have 50 requests of people wanting sign needed.
Do you want me to put 529-1290 on there for a number to call?
I'd rather.
You want to put my cell phone on there? Oh, I don't have a problem. A couple hundred calls a day, I don't have a problem.
Just give us a chance to look at it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate you bringing this forward again.
Well, it's me here, not my wife. She's a lot nice. She's not as nice as I am. Gina's
Yeah,
me.
besides, it's my turn to buy next time, we won't get away with it this time.
All right, we can flip, Roger. See you guys. Thanks.
I wanna-
See you.
I wanna see you.
Good to see you.
Well, I flip quarters. Thank you for your time. Thanks.
See ya.
And Lance, I'll look forward to seeing
Hey,
you.
where do you work?
Thanks, Lance. I used to work out the site.
Okay, you look familiar.
My wife and I have been in the area 20 years, so yeah, we've been around. Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, what else have we got?
45th East, they had a problem with their
Yeah.
asphalt plant. And so we don't have enough of the road paved. They had a fire at their asphalt plant and shut down for a while.
When are they gonna open up?
Well, you heard, yeah, maybe a month. They're trying to get,
Oh, cool. We'll be into plowing snow before you can use that road.
See, it's a conspiracy.
I drove down it the other day. The half that was paved, just 'cause I wanted to see where they were at, and they had the signs moved over, so I went and drove to see what they had done.
At least you can cheat and go. out.
My wife said, well, what are you gonna do if somebody stops you and says you can't be driving in here? And I said, I'll just tell them, I work for the county, I'm just seeing where we're at, so I can give people some updates, I'll give them my badge.
I've done that on these projects, but it's being truthful.
That's the only time I've driven down it, I just wanted to see where they were at, cause I noticed they'd slid the cones over and saw other people going through there, so I'm like, oh, I wonder what they've done.
That's under your job description.
well, they were gonna have both sides of the road paved, but that didn't happen. last
Because of the
week.
asphalt plant.
Is that gonna back them up to where it's gonna be hard to get these other projects done?
I don't believe so. I think we'll still be able to get 45th done, and
Which other plants have they got?
so they've got one out of Teton. That they might try to haul some out of.
Oh, great. More Jake breaks.
Yeah, So,
That's too far down the road for you.
yeah, it's on the Teton River outside of, but just by
On
Teton,
the Dale area.
yeah.
Well,
So-
not this time of year, it's gonna really set them.
It's gonna hurt them, and they're concerned about that, but they're still gonna try to meet their commitments. They were intended to be done with 45th East by, well, if we can get some answers from IBSD and stuff like that, they're gonna be tearing through that intersection pretty quick. And, that's kind of the last little bit of tearing up to do and putting it back. They were on schedule before this happened, by the end of July, they were gonna have it all paved and try to do some of the micro seal on it, but it might set them back a little bit now.
Is there any way you can tie this fire to the Baltimore Bridge accident? Conspiracy folks would really like
Yeah,
to, you know.
this
Connect
is
those
small
dots.
potatoes compared to that.
How do you think that might affect the Hammond Road bids?
I don't know that it'll affect Hammond Road bids a whole lot.
Except for planning, maybe.
Well, even timing, what we talked about before the meeting is we haven't got a recommendation from Fortran on that Hammond Road widening project right now, but the low bidder was Knife River, not HK. So, and Knife River has their own asphalt.
Can HK borrow some from the Knife River and get ours done?
We already went out to bid. Last week we opened the bids, but we haven't got a recommendation for award of the bid yet.
Forestry, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
So they were,
I know.
Does the county have any type of a noise ordinance? Is there anything on the books as far as noise or?
There is, but it's only applicable after 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And how do you,
And-
decibels?
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
super
why
hard to
the guy out on
enforce.
the north tried running that route to solve the problem with the Jackson garbage haulers before.
We've been through it before and talked to Sam, and mostly it falls under a nuisance, and then you just deal with the citation,
Yeah.
but it's tough to prove the decibels.
Bingham County's ordinance and see what it looks like,
Yeah.
rather than rewrite the whole thing.
But how do you prove a Jake break? You know,
Well, that's the other thing. I
It's
was
easy,
gonna
there's
say.
officers sitting there when they're coming by.
Cause not even, it's not even just
And
semis
word will
anymore, cause
spread.
all the new diesel trucks,
we'll have to have,
3/4 tons, 1 tons, all have
Yeah.
Jake brakes on them. So you're not even just dealing with the,
yeah, but the reality is exactly what both these guys said, is a deter.
Yeah.
it would deter.
people see the sign, they think,
That's
oh.
why Jackson said, one of our guys gets a ticket, the rest of them will stop using them.
Did you have anything else, Austin?
No, just, I
That's your-
sent you that email from the state fire marshal. I'm sure all of you have had a chance to look at that.
I'm glad he was so specific.
We're just moving
Yeah,
forward
right.
with. I updated the permit today, put some language on there that basically says per Idaho code. Chapter and title, this is, you can only sell non-aerial common fireworks from this stand, any violation thereof will. Result in revoking of your permit and fines, so
Did you get any response from the letter you sent?
which letter?
The last one you sent a copy to us of.
Oh, from. On the fireworks stuff?
Yeah.
Weston sent some back, yeah, I think he CC'd you.
Oh, this was to JR and then all of us, but
Hey, who was that JR guy that raised the complaint early on?
He owns a stand in the city.
what's
He
his
has,
problem? His
he
stands in the
owns,
city.
well, his problem is he owns the stand in front of Cabela's, and there's another one that's on 49th and 25th, just down the road. That's in the county that they sell the aerials, so his complaint was how much business he was losing to that stand, because he couldn't sell those. But, yeah, I've talked to him, he's pretty much taken care of, I think.
I know,
We'll just see what happens.
4-H.
You know what?
I know how to raise money.
Oh. Yeah, let's
Fireworks
sell
stand.
aerials out there, yeah.
Yeah, just.
Good idea.
We could probably get a waiver because it's a county facility.
Don't have a sprinkled building,
Oh, you could just sell.
but it
out-
is
Out in the
non-combustible.
open.
And it has a fire warning system in it now.
What if you sell them from a barge that's floating on the river?
How do you get to the barge? By
Well, it can be docked. It's-
Talk to the Army Corps, they regulate the waters.
Did you receive letters back from the developers on 49th North at all?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay,
I talked to, did, Jeff Schreiber come talk to you?
he did come talk to me and he did show me the plans that he has, which are very basic in nature, but it'd probably be enough for a design and we could probably utilize some of that, but we have to get Horrocks under contract before I share that with them, so.
Well, I told Jeff and I told John Pym the same thing, I said. School just has to decide what they wanna pay for.
Yeah,
Can either pay to move the lines or they can pay for the design. And I told Jeff, I can tell you which one will be cheaper, and he's like, you're right. So,
and they can, you know, there is enough of design there that I think that some of it could be used.
Okay.
Again, I don't wanna send that to Horrocks to have them try to utilize anything without getting Horrocks under contract first.
Would they reduce their rate on that, on work that they didn't have to redo?
I'm sure that we could talk about reducing the rate or doing a reduction through that portion of it.
Okay.
but without getting them. The Horrocks has been pretty good to, if they don't expand those fees, they don't bill for them. And Keller's been pretty good that way too. So,
Yeah,
what
I've
was the
talked
deadline
to
on the letter? Was it
1st of June.
1st of June?
And Mike Hicks called me Friday. I called him back yesterday and he was out of town, so he was gonna call me back today. He had some questions about it, so. I'll talk to him today.
Well, I just knew the deadline was coming up and we'll probably try to get together.
Curtis asked me about it too, and I told him the
Yeah.
same thing. I said, he's like, well, we could probably do the design cheaper. I said, well, that's great. And then we paid him the poles. And he's like, oh, that's the deal. And then he hasn't said anything to me since, so.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Okay, we're gonna close the meeting.